Hey, what's good everyone? It's your boy Evan coming at you with one more video for the night, right? So, what I wanted to talk to you about was a bit of drama that's actually going down in my backyard, Clovis. There is a transgender athlete who wants to compete in this track and field championship that's going on for high schoolers. And a lot of the community, rightfully so, is pointing out this is unfair. I haven't gone into the nuances of this in particular case, so I thought it would be pretty cool to check this all out with you guys, and you guys can see my first-hand reactions to this. But before we do that, I would really appreciate if you could just donate to me one little like, one little comment, and maybe a subscription if you have it. Don't cost you nothing but a click, and I would really appreciate if you did and support my channel. But now that I got that out the way, let's go ahead and roll into the video.
Developing now, a controversy is brewing in Clovis over this weekend's state track and field championship at Buchanan High School. A.B. Hernandez is a transgender junior at Jurupa Valley High School in Southern California. Hernandez competes in girls track and field. Now, she won titles in the triple and long jump earlier this month.
Transgender athlete just happens to be winning these titles. Okay. It's almost like being a biological male gives you some type of physical advantage over biological women. Strange. That couldn't be the case. Nah, not here in California.
During the postseason, Clovis Mayor Pro Tem Diane Pierce posted a Facebook calling the child out, saying that it's unfair that she compete against biological girls. Pierce cited President Trump's February executive order that bans biological boys from competing against girls. Now, President Trump joined the debate this morning with a post to Truth Social saying, in part, as a male, he was a less than average competitor. As a female, this transitioned person is practically unbeatable. This is not fair and totally demeaning to women and girls. Please be hereby advised that large-scale federal funding will be held back, maybe permanently, if the executive order on this subject matter is not adhered to. Now, the president went on to say that even Governor Newsom agrees that it's unfair. Here's Governor Newsom back in March on the debut episode of his podcast.
Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that.
Now,
interesting thing, just to branch off from the transgender athlete for a moment. Newsom's doing this whole thing to reinvent himself, and like my dog Gary Bredefeld said in his Truth Act forum, it's not gonna work. You see, the thing is, he's too left for the people on the right, and he's moved to center for the people on the left. There's not enough constituents for him to rebrand himself. Everyone hates him on all ends. The left side hates him for not being left enough. The right side hates him for being left. There's just really nowhere to go. And the craziest part was, if you were to ask me like 2 months ago, I thought he was the #1 contender for a Democratic nominee, but I just don't see it no more. Now it's definitely AOC. I think AOC has it in the bag if she tries to go for a presidential run.
Executive order the president signed on February 5th states that it is the policy of the United
for the nomination, not for the actual presidency. She will definitely be the Democratic nominee. She ain't gonna win.
States to oppose male competitive participation in women's sports and threatens to rescind all funds from educational programs that deprive women and girls of fair athletic opportunities. After the order, the California Interscholastic Federation, which governs the state high school sports, said that it would continue allowing transgender athletes to compete, which is consistent with the 2013 state law AB 1266. That law was enacted before Newsom became governor. Now, President Trump says that he is ordering local authorities, though he didn't specify which, to not allow Hernandez to compete, and that he will be speaking with Governor Newsom about the situation today. Now, this is an evolving story. We'll bring you the latest updates and community reaction tonight on the Fox 26 News at 10. But in the meantime, we want to know, what do you think? Do you believe that trans athletes should compete in women's sports? Right now, 91.
And notice how they have to preface that too. It's always women's sports, man. You don't hear about like female to male transgenders going and competing with dudes and dominating the sports. You might get like one anecdotal win against a guy that was just a really lackluster performer. Like, I think there was a fight, not in the UFC because they don't allow that sort of nonsense, but it was like a smaller fighting company, and it was against a guy that had several losses, and this women to male beat them, and they're like, big whoop, dog. it's it's not it's not an exception unless you're dominating the top talent. Like, it's always women's sports. It's always the vulnerable ones. So now that we've seen that, I wanted to bring one more video to it. And this, more specifically, talks about Trump threatening to hold back the California funding in regards to California violating his executive order.
New at midday, President Donald Trump is threatening to withhold federal funding for California over a transgender athlete in girls' sports. Trump cited the case of a California high school junior who competes in girls' track and field. She is expected to compete in the CIF championship this weekend at Veterans Memorial Stadium at Buchanan High School. Now, this is a video from the CIF competition from previous years. And thank you for joining us this midday. We are live on ABC 30, Hulu Live, and wherever you stream. I'm Jason Oliveira.
And I'm Graciela Moreno. The president posted on social media saying that the athlete's participation is unfair and is demeaning to women and girls. Trump says large-scale federal funding could be held up if the state does not comply with an executive order signed in February. That order banned transgender athletes from female sports. The president also pointed to a statement by California Governor Gavin Newsom where he suggested that letting transgender women and girls compete in female sports is deeply unfair.
I bet the progressive legislators are so mad at Newsom for that because it's just giving Trump more ammo to say what you're doing is stupid. I have an executive order saying you can't. Your own governor, who's a leftist, doesn't want you to do this. Like, you guys are really acting rogue outside of your constituents, except maybe, you know, like Anthony Weiner, because he comes from a land of weirdos. But you get what I'm saying, right? They really don't have a point to argue for this other than an outdated California law from a bygone political era.
Trump says that he will speak to Newsom later today.
Now, meantime, the CIF has released a statement today saying the organization will implement a pilot entry process for the upcoming championship. The statement says that under the process, any biological female student athlete who would have earned the next qualifying mark for one of their section's automatic qualifying entries in the CIF state meet and did not achieve the CIF state at-large mark in the finals at their section meet was extended an opportunity to participate in the 2025 CIF state track and field championships.
Okay, so that is really sinister, it's conniving. They want to get the transgender athlete to compete, and in the event that the transgender athlete gets, say, first place or second place and knocks a biological female out of the running for a follow-up race, they're going to allow the female to continue on. Yeah, see, why you guys upset? We got all the biological women there that was supposed to be there, but we still wanted our transgender to compete. That's not the point. It's the principle that this is women's track and field, and this is not a woman. And how demeaning does that have to be to the athlete that gets roped into the next one? You know, you get your third place little medal, and only first and second are moving up. But they're like, oh, but don't worry, because of this pilot program, you get to go too. And you're grateful that you get to compete at the next level. But at the same time, is this going to be the trend? Are you just going to constantly be dog walked by some transgender athletes and then you get your pity ascension because they can't get away with just letting them take the spot now? Ridiculous. I try not to lay in too hard when it comes to minors because these are real impressionable folk. It's easy to spit vitriol and hatred and anger because it's a very frustrating situation. But you also got to remember that this is a minor. They're easily impressionable. We don't know what happened to them in their childhood that led them into this direction. I personally don't believe that transgenderism is something that you're born with. I think that it's something that happens to you, whether it be indoctrination or whether it be traumatic events that make you uncomfortable with living life as you are. Lisa Littman, she has a paper that's infamously known as the Littman papers, where she talks about what she classifies as ROGD, which is rapid onset gender dysphoria. And it's this phenomenon of young adults who consume a large amount of transgender media, transgender influencers. They enter transgender communities or LGBT communities, and then they suddenly start showing profound and severe cases of gender dysphoria. And what they find is that the gender dysphoria does not alleviate with treatment that would typically alleviate gender dysphoria in someone that has shown it since a longer period. So it's a fundamentally different type of diagnosis. And what they've found with rapid onset gender dysphoria is that when you treat them for depression, the gender dysphoria goes away, because that's often what it is. They have an underlying issue that's making them depressed, and rather than address it, they would rather project their issue as something that's much farther out of reach. So you're not actually addressing your actual issue because it's too painful. That's just something that came to mind with younger cases, specifically adolescent cases of gender dysphoria. But hey man, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm just reading their papers. Anywho, that is the video. Hopefully you found this informative, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe would be really cool. I'd really if I had to pick one of the three, I'd like you to do that, you know, so you could stay tuned for what other videos I got planned. But with that said, I'm Evan, this was the video, I'm out, peace.